And yo, once again, we're back. The Sports
What's up?
Bad Bros Podcast. Back at you on a
What's
Wednesday,
good?
man.
What's good? What's good?
What is good? What is great, man? Ja
Ja
Morant is
Morant.
back in the NBA.
So I was thinking the way we ended the show yesterday, people watching, if they watched all the way to the end or listened, like, man, Bias just left like a fanboy. That's a popular term this nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I'm a basketball junkie and I wanted to see. But look what I shut the show down for to see. It was worth
Bro,
it.
it was more than worth it. Bro, look, he had me at the end wondering, man, you know what? That bandwagon looked pretty good again. I got off that bandwagon, man. I don't know, man. I might have to give him that trial period before I kind of had you on, lit you on back onto it. But
Uh-huh.
man, yo,
He was getting he looked a little bit rusty. He missed a layup here, a jump shot there, but he was getting to his spots. He was getting to the rim. He was throwing nice alley oop passes. He looked like he didn't really miss a beat. But Ingram was in his bag. McCollum was splashing threes,
yeah,
and the Pelicans got out to what, like a 19-point lead. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be
yeah, it was
tough.
looking bad early because I also had some money
Yeah,
on that freaking first quarter, bro. Come on now.
but second half, Grizzlies settled in. He started to cook. I mean, he dropped 34 on them plus the game winner at the
Man,
buzzer.
look, bro, he was doing it. I know one time he did it a little bit rust, like you were saying in the beginning. He threw that pass that went into the audience. I was like, yeah, he got that rust going on. But yo, he got it back together, man. You could just see he still had it. Now, I think we have to be able to differentiate between him coming back from a suspension and coming back from an injury. This isn't like he had to come back from an injury. He came back from a suspension. And I think that's what the important part is.
Right,
He's practiced with
right.
the team. So I guess what we were talking about yesterday, man, he's not going to be in condition, basketball shape. He played with the team in all of these practices. So, and it was apparent.
Yeah, he was a bit winded at certain points, but in the fourth quarter, mind over matter, baby. Mind over
Basketball,
matter.
bro.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he's been
I
doing.
just I just thought it was so sweet. He went to the hoop, did the spin move, threw up the little floater, hit the back iron, ball went through the net, and then the buzzer went off. It was
You know what I'm
like bam,
saying?
bam, bam.
And look at the entire picture. You're talking about the number one pick in the draft, in the same draft, Zion
Zion.
Williamson. And then you look at him and you see how he came into this game. And with all of this anticipation because of the 25 game suspension, we know what it's about. We don't have to rehash. And he shows out like this. He did not miss a beat. I think he played 34 minutes. I mean, that means he could have caused a lot more damage, but at the same time, you know what? He probably does get more winded and starts missing more
Mhm.
shots. The legs aren't necessarily there. But if this is what you needed to see if the Grizzlies are a different team with him, they beat the Pelicans in New Orleans.
Right.
I mean, that
Right.
matters.
Right. And people can, throw it away a regular season game on a Tuesday night. Who
Man,
cares? But the thing about it is the Pelicans are trying to ascend. The
yep.
Grizzlies, they did ascend, but they're coming back down for whatever reason, right? Ja's issues, Dylan Brooks is gone. They
Yep.
have a tall mountain to climb out of, or
Adams injured.
a hole a hole to climb out of, a mountain to climb. What, they're 6-19 now, they're 7-19, something like that.
Yeah. Let
It's
me see.
going to be tough, but if Ja Morant's going to play like that, he's going to give a lot of people work.
Oh, he is 25. 25 games he hadn't played, and he comes in this time around and he shows maybe he's going against what I've been saying. This year I've been pretty bad with almost every damn thing. Come on. I said they're not a Ja Morant away from being a better team. Well, yeah, a better team, but not a playoff team. He keeps this nonsense up, man. Come on now. I mean,
Yeah,
you
we'll
still
see.
have Desmond Bain playing well.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's not surprising when you think about it. Like I said, the Pelicans are trying to ascend.
Yeah.
Are they really a top echelon team? Probably not, even though they have Ingram, McCollum, and Zion Williamson and other pieces. But they haven't proven themselves. They haven't learned to win. So I think that was the difference last night. When the game got close, the Pelicans didn't know what to go to, what they can rely on. Where the Grizzlies like, get the ball to Ja. We know what Ja can do.
Yep.
And you would think, give the ball to Zion and get out the way, or set up McCullum for a three. They just looked out of sync going down the stretch, and they have to learn.
And Zion did look a little bit off kilter for the early going yesterday. I remember yesterday he was complaining about one call. There was a big call that I think it was right under the hoop. He thought he was fouled. Or, matter of fact, it was an offensive foul. He started getting pissed off about it. He's tripping about it. I never saw him trip like that before. But I guess this is something.
Yeah, it was an iffy call. I don't know if he should have gotten that upset about it.
Yeah,
it
right?
was iffy. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, with Ja playing the way he's playing, man. And you know what? Last season, I thought the Grizzlies regressed. I was really expecting them to really make a serious push to probably, if they were doing what they did the previous season and continue to build on that, they might have had enough to beat Denver last season because that's the type of team they had. I think all of the issues they had probably off the court with Ja is the reason why they didn't do as well as they should have done, continue to ascend from what they were 2 seasons ago. So, yeah, I mean, Ja is obviously the key. He's the franchise player of that team. Let's see now for the long term if he continues to play and stay out of trouble off the court. I think
he maintained that level.
Yeah, and talent-wise, I think there's no question about him maintaining that level because he's now done it his entire NBA career, maintaining that level of talent, maintaining that level of play. It's that off the field nonsense, off the court nonsense that's pretty much knocked him down, and people questioning him about that and basketball. That gets into your head as well. Right. But hopefully that's
what might bode well for him if you saw him running off the court yelling, "I kept receipts, I kept receipts." He's got a chip on his shoulder now.
You know what? If that's going to help.
Right, exactly. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He might be mentally more focused. He's got a point to prove. Whatever way you want to describe it, he's going to try and be him, right? He's going to try and be him. And good luck.
He's not a bad guy. I mean, that nonsense he did, right. We know he's trying to be something that he's not. He hasn't been looked at as a bad guy since he's been in the NBA until these incidents started coming out. This wasn't something that you heard about him all the time, or they tried to vilify him and all that nonsense. People were always on his side, even people who weren't fans of the Grizzlies. They liked his game. So they followed him and kind of held him in high esteem. It's just that this off-the-court nonsense is what kept knocking him down and him trying to be something that he's not. So I think people can jump on the bandwagon, and I might be following him with him, with his renaissance and his other opportunity, and realizing hopefully he had the counseling that Draymond Green is getting when it comes down to letting him know what you have to lose and what the privilege you have of playing in the NBA, a kid's game for king's ransom, and just, you're set for generations. Just play the game. I think he can do that.
Yeah. If he's totally focused on basketball, that'll help him off the court because he's thinking only basketball. Like, no, yeah. I'm not going to go to the club tonight. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not carrying a strap today. All those things will help his NBA game.
Yeah, and it should. And, it's not like the NBA hasn't seen things like this in the past. We remember when Kobe Bryant had his incident, and that was much more egregious than just flashing a gun. And he was vilified. I remember him losing sponsors, that chocolatier out in Italy. He lost that sponsor. But you know what? After it kind of blew over a little bit, he recreated his image. And he's still the Mamba, though. He kept his game, and it got even better. But not that people forgot.
I think he became the Mamba. He wasn't quite yet the Mamba
before that.
Then, I would think, yeah. I don't know.
He was an assassin back then, though. He was.
I'm not saying, but I'm not quite sure he was.
If he adopted the Mamba name by then,
yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Maybe that was his alter ego.
He may have been the Mamba, but he may not have been called the Mamba yet.
Okay,
he's probably always been the Mamba since
he was doing Mamba things. But then he got out.
I'm saying he wasn't the Mamba. No, not saying that. I'm saying he just wasn't called that yet.
Yeah, but nevertheless, he went through what he had gone through publicly, ridiculed, embarrassed, the whole deal, the apology, everything. But he got his image back together, and people not necessarily had forgotten it, but you realize once he passed away that even the people who might have ridiculed him and were the part of that crew that didn't like him anymore kind of had that sympathy, but they respected his game. They respected him as a man moving forward. So I think, what Ja Morant has done, as it's egregious. It's not completely over the top. It's just stupid more than anything else. And now that he's back, and if he can keep his focus, as you said, remember these receipts, get motivated by those receipts, we have something to watch in the NBA again with Ja Morant just being a great basketball player and just doing things for his community like he was doing before. He
Just
actually
play
was.
ball, man.
Just play ball. That's what you're there for. Just play ball, man. So yeah, nice seeing Ja Morant back. His game, bro. He has his game, man. There isn't anyone in the NBA that I can think of who has the entire package that he has and moves the way he does as the little skinny guy that floats in the air, the whole deal. I don't think there are players like that right now. You know, that if he went away, you can just say, you know what, we'll have Ja number 2. He's the guy right now. And I think that maybe they may just be a Ja Morant away from being a serious contender.
He might be Russell Westbrook with a better jumper.
You think so?
I mean, think about Russ when he was
Oklahoma City.
When he first came into the league, man, athletic as anyone else.
Oh, he was athletic as hell. He seemed unbridled, man. He was like everywhere, though. You know, kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, but he was just, I don't know. Damn, I'm trying to come up with the word with it, but yeah, he was all over the place with a bad jumper. But he was getting his assists. He learned the game, and got his triple doubles. And people were wondering, was he more satisfied getting his triple doubles than winning games and doing something that's completely effective for the entire team? But Ja, hey, once again, that and they get the win. 115, 113, game winner. You couldn't write it up better than that. Come on.
Right. Like I said, the way it ended, the ball went through the net and then the buzzer went off. Like a lot of times the clock stops and there's like 0.7 seconds left. The other team has a shot to win it. And that ruins the moment. But there was no ruining the moment last night.
No.
I went through the hoop and he couldn't do nothing about it. Ball game.
On the road, by the way, against the Pelicans, by the way, who are trying to do their own way of ascending. But, as bad as the Grizzlies are right now, I mean, that's definitely a kick in the butt that they needed to get on track. And let's see how it goes, because there is going to be another game, and then another game, and another game.
That's a nice feather in their cap.
Oh, easy, yeah.
Should give them some confidence.
Absolute confidence. Know they have their guy back, but do a few egos get bruised, like Desmond Bane, who had been trying to take over since Ja had left. He's been putting up pretty damn good career numbers for him. And now that Ja's back, that they're going to ask for Ja to win the game. So you know how egos can be, and they gave him that big money as well in the offseason. So I'm hoping he's not that kind of player, that he would just be the player and continue to win.
But at the same time, with Ja back, it's going to make Bane's life easier.
It is.
He can kind of hang out at the 3-point line when Ja gets all the attention, dish it out to him, as opposed to he's the man with the ball and he's got all the attention. Mm-hmm. He's carrying the load. And, he was probably pressing.
Yeah, and, well, you know what? The bottom line is these guys are together again, and we have a whole bunch of games. I wonder if Ja might even get some all-star votes and get in the all-star game. I think if he continues this and he's not doing anything on the outside, he'll be the all-star game, and it is about the names anyway.
Yeah, if he comes back averaging 30.
You got to put him in, man.
Right, and I'm calling on the Pelicans. And the Grizzlies are winning. How do you keep him out of the all-star game?
Yeah. Hey, I don't. You know what? He might get the.
Why would you want to? I mean,
exactly. First of all, he has the kind of game that people come to watch anyway. Right. So put him in for nothing else at all for the entertainment value it's supposed to be. He's an all-star anyway. But anyway, a lot of basketball going on last night. You mentioned about Ja, and you're talking about averaging 30-plus points a game, if nothing at all. Well, last night, Dame, man, 40 points himself.
20,000.
Bro, I mean, everything, got the 20,000 point, got the 40-point game. And, they just keep on cruise control, as they should, against the Spurs, who were just abysmal. I mean, Wemby's having a hell of a rookie year, man, but much ado about nothing.
He doesn't have a lot of help.
But this is what they knew going in. They were relying on Pop. Of course, they were relying on his development as a player. But right now, he's developing as a player under some harsh circumstances. So let's hope that this is a precursor to when I finally start getting guys around him, or getting, he'll be even that much better. You would like to believe. But yeah, man, Dame, it's about Dame on this one.
Yeah, congratulations to him. They said he's only the 51st person to go over 20,000 career points in the NBA. 51 sounds like a lot to me, but It's still a milestone. So congrats to him. But the game I want to talk about is the Celtics and
I'm about to
Warriors.
say that one next, boy.
I didn't stay up for it, but before I went to bed, Bleacher Report notification showed Jaylen Brown throws Steph Curry because he's too small. And I remember thinking he might live to regret that.
Well,
Wake
live
up
to regret that.
wake up in the morning, check the score. Dubs won in overtime. Leading scorer of the game is Steph
Steph
Curry.
Curry.
He's putting them to sleep at the end with the 3-pointer. Man, don't poke that bear. Come on, man. Other people, they've tried it and they've got burned. Don't poke that bear, especially when he whipped your ass in the finals.
Yep. Now 3-1 without Draymond Green. I mean, hey, the
So,
hits keep coming. The hits keep coming.
that counseling might last till summer if they keep this up.
You know, yeah, right? Hey, man, just get a bigger couch. Keep laying down. It'll just tell us your problems.
No, but the Celtics were without Porzingis, so I'm sure that didn't help.
Oh, yeah, obviously, because he's been
But
just
still,
piecing it out.
Jaylen Brown's a bad dude. But you gonna troll Steph Curry? You know when he can get hot from the freaking logo. Why are you gonna fuck with him?
And turn his back on it.
That's one guy you don't fuck with. You know, you don't fuck with Dame Dollar. You know, the guys that can shoot the lights out, you don't fuck with them. They get hot, they'll give it to you with no Vaseline, man.
Yeah. And last night, as we said that yesterday, we were talking about how Curry's 3-point streak had ended, since 2018. Well, he started a new one, apparently, going 6 of 11 yesterday and heating it up and winning the game against the Celtics. The Celtics probably say, you know what, we can give that away. Porzingis didn't play. We can give that game away because they still are undefeated at home. And it's pretty damn tough to play out there in Boston. But yeah, for what it is right now, the Warriors have that boost without Draymond Green, 3-1 now and counting. So hey, what's going on there?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really.
I don't know if they beat him with Porzingis. I don't think it's going to last. They don't have much size.
They don't.
Jackson Davis apparently played well yesterday, but even he's only like 6'7". They're gonna need size eventually. Davis, Jokic. You see what Chet Holmgren did to them. They lost to OKC because they had nobody for Chet.
Yeah, but the whole OKC team, man, that young team, bro, they run you up and down.
Yeah, but at the end, Chet was blocking shots and splashing threes, and they had nobody to match up with him.
Now that's their unicorn. I mean, what Chet is doing, what Porzingis was doing early in his career. Now Porzingis is trying to do it some more with the Celtics, but Chet Holmgren, I saw this coming from a mile away. That's why I was dying to see this guy play last year. And when he got bumped around and knocked out during the preseason or in the summer league, I was like, all right, man, whatever. But I knew he was going to come back and do this. I thought he and Boncaro would be the guys going back and forth for years to come. Now you add Wemby to the mix. 3 of these young guys playing the way they're playing, and then you already have your NBA incumbents, Anthony Edwards, young guys, and Ja Morant, Zion, those kinds of players, man. Booker, man, it's a hell of an NBA to watch. But yeah.
You just reminded me when you said Booker. Bradley Beal came back, played one game.
Got injured.
Now he's out 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What is going on?
Well, these NBA players, man, they're like Porsches, man, Lamborghinis. They can go out there and run the court and look pretty doing it, but as soon as a piece of grain, a grain of salt or a grain of sand gets in that transmission, that's it. I mean, come on. But yeah, man. But the NBA hot. I mean, and the good thing about the NBA, it's been hot from the very beginning because of the matchups. And of course, they added that new flavor to it by having the in-season tournament. And they're still having good matchups. And Ja comes back and do what he's doing.
So hold on. Speaking of the in-state tournament, Ron Harper is pissed off because the Lakers put up a banner for the in-season tournament next to the championship banners. Like, what are you guys doing, man? He said that's lame.
That is lame.
I can't agree with him.
I mean, come on, man.
Put
People
the trophy in the corner somewhere encased in glass or something, but a banner next to the championship banners?
You know what? 15 or 20 years from now, if they still have this format going with the in-season tournament, the in-season tournament.
Hey, you know who
Maybe
runs
they
the
will
in-state?
need it up
You
there.
know who runs the in-state tournament? Josh Purdy.
Oh God, bruh, it won't last long. Then this might be the inaugural and final season. But God,
If you
man,
guys haven't been watching long, that's a
yeah,
joke.
man, we have enough
Gotta
video
go
for you to
back
go
to
back
past
on
episodes.
and pick up what we're putting down. Well, the NBA once again back and hot, and we're not even at Christmas yet, man. Just a few more days before Christmas comes, and the NBA throws out their real unofficial opening where teams are just getting together, and this is really going to open the door for the NBA to go fire all the way into the All-Star game and thereafter. Well, what else is going on? High school recruiting. I mean, it's not even just a high school recruiting. If you have a college football team, this is the lifeblood of that college football
Your
team's success
program,
or failure.
right?
And so many people signing their scholarships today all over the country. But it's not like old times back when you had the first Wednesday of February. This was signing day for everyone. They now have the early signing period, and it's right before Christmas, and the signings have begun. Teams are on the list. Georgia so far number one. Not that it wasn't expected, but I did expect them after losing Dylan Raiola to Nebraska, the number one quarterback of the class. You would expect them to drop a little bit. They still came out number one because they're just killing it.
That's crazy.
That just lets you know the talent that's coming in there.
Right. So that'll supplement all those transfer guys leaving.
Whew, you know what? And you don't necessarily you wouldn't like to have true freshmen having an opportunity to come in, but if they're that good, you know what I mean? Because even the guys who transferred, they're upperclassmen and they leave, and their backups who probably had to wait another year themselves if those guys didn't leave are not as good as those true freshmen. Yeah, those true freshmen would probably be that good enough and probably worthy of being in that spot. But you don't necessarily want to wait on a true freshman. There are certain positions you don't really want to rely on a true freshman. I think offensive line is typically the number one spot. You don't want to rely on a true freshman or quarterback, because even when Peyton Manning came in, he wasn't looking so great when Jerry Colquitt went down. You had he and Todd Helton as true freshman quarterbacks trying to fit the bill. And in fact, from what I saw, Todd Helton had a better night than Peyton Manning. It's just that he did the smart thing of getting injured and deciding on baseball. So, but I've seen some true freshman quarterbacks who I thought were going to just light it up, like Chris Leak, and didn't necessarily do it as a true freshman because it's such a huge jump, even in a non-Power 5 conference, for a true freshman to come in and just light it up like that from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned Dylan Raiola. I don't remember if we talked about it on the show or after the show, but he asked me why I thought he flipped.
Yeah.
And he was quoted as saying, Nebraska's in my blood. It's always in my heart. So what I think is, Frost got fired. Mickey Joseph took over. Then Rule got hired. Nebraska was in flux. And he's like, nah, I don't know what's really going on there. I'll go to Georgia. But now he sees what Rule's doing, what he's building, the culture that he's growing there.
Yeah.
And like he said, it's in his blood, it's in his heart. Matt Rule today says, they asked him, how did that happen? He said, well, a couple Sundays ago, phone rings and it's Dylan. Hey, coach, I'm thinking about maybe coming there. Can I come for a visit? Of course you can come for a visit. Yeah, we'll set it up. So it was Dylan reaching out to Coach Rule, not Coach Rule still recruiting him. So basically, if you believe what he's saying, what Coach Rule says, he just couldn't fight his heart.
I can believe that, though. He's a legacy kid. Your fathers went there. You've heard about Nebraska your whole life, regardless of all the other places you've played in high school. He played in Arizona. He's played in Georgia. So no matter all these other places you've played in high school, your identity has still been tied to Nebraska at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and when you
and they released a video, like, I don't know if it was a commitment video or somebody made a hype video, they called it. But, Dominic, his dad, they got his picture on the wall of fame. And in the video, he's there like staring at it. Like the video shows his love for the program. So
I think that's
just
natural.
I just think like he saw okay, things are settled down. It'll be okay if I go there. Whereas before it was all chaos and
It
he
was
didn't
Scott
trust it.
Frost, man.
Right. He didn't trust it. No, I'm not gonna go there. But now I think he feels he can trust it. So that's why he's going.
Yeah, because I believe if Scott Frost was still there, I don't think he would have changed from Georgia. There wouldn't have been any real reason because they weren't showing any signs of getting any better under Scott Frost. They were actually showing signs of getting worse. But to go from number one Georgia, you know you're going to have an opportunity eventually, if not next season, definitely the season afterwards. And you know Georgia, now they're looking at their recruiting classes and knowing what Kirby Smart does as a coach. He's pretty much Nick Saban 2.0. He gets his teams an opportunity, at least at a national championship, more times than not, especially in recent memory. You decide to leave that when all the hoopla came, when he decided on Georgia. I mean, everybody just said no one leaves Georgia. Like before, no one left Alabama once they made their decision, especially at such a premium position as quarterback. And then this guy, of all places, you go back to Nebraska. They're not running the option. You know, Bill Callahan came and tried to throw the ball forward, and they were like, it goes forward. You know what I mean? None of that. You're going with Matt Rule, who's coaching the NFL, who's coached in college. Now he's there. He showed some improvement. It's just that offense was the problem last season. And now you, with the lifeblood or your blood, your father, and just the legacy of a Nebraska team that your father played for, when it was a good thing to do. I mean, man, for him to be there, this is a real impactful decision that he made for both of them.
Right. And it affected or it impacted other recruits' decision.
Yeah.
Because they also got
receivers coming.
They flipped 3 guys from the Miami area. And Matt Rule was talking about one was committed to Maryland. He wasn't committed to the U. So you didn't lose him. You already had lost him. But Rule says they are concentrating on Dade County. One of their coaches has ties there. So they already have a pipeline. They have inroads with the high school coaches there.
Yeah.
So that's why they were able to build relationships. But yeah, the impact of Raiola, like I said, these new 3 guys that signed today, they were not Nebraska commits. They flipped. 12th hour or 11th hour, whatever the term is.
Yeah, that flipping, it happens quite a bit during signing day. Nothing's changed since early signing day has become a thing. But yeah, those people, especially for a program like Nebraska, the Pied Piper, when it comes down to that quarterback that these receivers know that they can grow with together, and you're hoping that's the case, because the other part of this equation is this is the NIL. This is the transfer portal age we're living in. And going by what happened with Jimbo Fisher just 2 seasons ago when he had an all-world recruiting class, probably and arguably one of the greatest recruiting classes of all time. And then the following year, practically half of those guys was gone. And then practically the other half decided to leave last season. He gets fired because of that and other non-playing issues, like his team not playing well enough. I think this is what we're dealing with as well. And I was thinking about it today. You get all these kids, you have their families, and they're making one of the biggest decisions, if not the biggest decision of their life right now. It's their time. All of these kids across the country, 25 a class in some cases. How many of those kids are going to be there just after next season? Out of that 25, not from Nebraska, but from all of these teams. Out of that 25, does 10 leave? Does 15 leave because they don't get their way or they don't see a way to get their way?
Right. Not only that, how many of them actually pan out and reach the level of
another thing? Yep.
Their talent or projected talent. Not everybody pans out either.
And
just like you have walk-ons who turn into All-Americans,
and that's
you have
true.
5-stars who end up being nobodies.
I've seen that before. I remember, I keep going back to it. Kyle Wright being that top quarterback that year. He and Chris Leak, I think they were 1A and 1B. And then you have somebody who's a 3-star quarterback like Kevin Cobb, who wasn't in any of that mix, goes to Houston with Art Briles and plays as a true freshman, throws for over 3,000 yards, has only 6 interceptions, and throws over 20 touchdowns, and goes to the NFL. His career was pretty nondescript, but he got to the NFL, whereas these other 2 couldn't sniff a preseason game for the most part. You just don't know where and how it went wrong. or all of these names. I've followed recruiting for decades, literally, and I've seen these 5-star guys or some of these 5-star guys not make it for one reason or another. And Whitney Lewis is one of these guys that comes to mind. He played for St. Bonaventure with Lorenzo Booker, who, by the way, was the first guy to make his announcement on television on ESPN until it became a thing now of, yes, I'm choosing Florida State. And at that time, it was over Notre Dame. And he goes to Florida State as the number 1 player in college, high school football. And the same year, Maurice Claret came out. Deshaun Wynn from Ohio went to Florida. And Whitney Lewis was his teammate. The guy was insane, 6 feet, 215 pounds, ran a 4.3 allegedly, still fast. Like a 4.35 or whatever. Ran track, played basketball, just an absolute stud of a player. Over 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing as a high school player. I mean, bro, this guy was everything you ever wanted as an athlete. What ends up happening, he and Lorenzo Booker are cousins, and he wanted to go to Florida State. His mother was not going to sign the letter of intent unless he stayed home or close to home. He signs with USC, and he ends up getting a little bit out of shape. He finds out, or if he already knew, or they identified that he was dyslexic. He had issues with his grades. He ended up falling down and down the depth chart. Next thing you know, he changes, I believe, to northern Iowa. He goes to northern Iowa and was just a pretty ordinary player. Unbelievable how those things happen. Callahan Bright, another one, a huge defensive lineman from the Pennsylvania area, just absolutely schooled Eugene Monroe in their high school years at those different camps. Just absolutely schooled him. Dude's benching over 400 pounds, doing all this crap. Can't keep out of trouble. Signs for Florida State. Can't pass grade-wise. He doesn't play. Eugene Monroe ends up being a first-round draft pick in the NFL. I mean, you just see how these guys fall by the wayside. These 5-star guys who don't pan out. And man, I don't know, man. I don't.
How about the U? Your team was in the top 10.
Oh yeah, they're in the top 10. I think 4 the last time I saw, because as people come or people go, even during the process, they kind of fluctuate. And depending on who you're listening to, whether it's 247 Sports or ESPN or whichever your choice is, they have only one 5-star player, and another ranking is a 4-star player. And so, it depends on what your flavor is. But anyway, they got to come to camp and they got to play. But JoJo Trader, I think at wide receiver, is the wide receiver that they have right now that's going to have to be the guy. And one of the wide receivers that is going to have to be the guy of this class, because we did have Kobe Young leaving. So we need wide receivers that can really fill the bill, quarterbacks to get them the ball. But what was it? Jeremiah Smith, who chose to go to Ohio State. Those two went to the same school, which is Chaminade Madonna in Hollywood, Florida, Dania area. People who know Florida know that. Dominant ass team. Those two are on the same team. One goes to Miami. The bigger one goes to Ohio State, stolen from Miami, like Ohio State does when it comes down to Florida players. But talent, man.
Well, apparently Nebraska does it now too.
Yeah, you know what? That's what got Nebraska to where they got in it before with Tom Osborne. Coming to Florida, beating out Florida State, beating out Miami, and bringing those top Florida talented players to their team. Tommy Frazier.
Yeah,
Florida man.
They used to go into Texas and Cali too. If they can get back in those states, they're on their way to. I'm not gonna say glory days, but to strong competitiveness.
I think they could do it in Texas. I think they can do it in Texas. Texas has way too much talent. The second largest state.
You would think Matt Rule still has connections down there too. So
that's true, but I think Florida, in my opinion, going by what I've seen for decades now. When you looked at the rosters and you saw a lot of those Floridians that ended up going somewhere outside of the state of Florida, many times they were either starting even as true freshmen or they were getting significant playing time even as true freshmen. The talent level here is just absolutely insane. I've been a lot of places around the country, watched their high school ball, tried watching even more ball on video. These players, by and large, especially the further south you go,
because you got Luke and all them guys betting on them when they're 8 years old. So.
And that's probably the case. It's a different kind of football, by the way. Jacksonville, in my opinion, is probably the second best in football in Florida because of the large area, but Miami is unequivocally number one. I guess when you say South Florida, it's Miami and Lauderdale. That's probably that area. though the game is so much different down there. And you're probably right. When your life might be on the line because of a bet, you might play a little harder. So I'm not gonna lie about that. But the talent that's coming through, not only Florida, but Texas has the talent. California, the largest country population-wise, you would expect that. But then you look at the number one cornerback in the country. In fact, probably the number one player overall, that Ellis Robinson, the fourth, Ellis Robinson, the fourth, choosing to go to Georgia. That's the kind of the play that you need to sign. So when a Dylan Raiola leaves, it doesn't move. The needle doesn't move. It just stays the same. And the irony there, I don't think there's much irony. I'm talking all about these Florida players and Texas players and California. He's from Connecticut, of all places. Not necessarily the place you go to get top high school football players to play at a major program, but he is from up there. Connecticut, played at IMG Academy. Here in the state of Florida, as people may know, they play like 10 games because they're just a football factory. They do other sports as well, but they don't play for state championships. They just put together a football all-star team, and they travel the country if they need it, or they play at home and beat you up there. But man, he's a Connecticut guy, number one player in the country. Georgia has him at cornerback, which is just insane because they also had a kid on, what's his name, KJ Bolden. They flipped him from Florida State to now Georgia. Now you have the number one corner and the number one safety in your secondary now. This is how you continue to win.
Yep, we'll see.
The lifeblood
for Florida State, they're losing a lot of players in the transfer portal. They still got a good recruiting class, but it hurts losing the 5-star safety on signing day.
You know what? And I could see the argument if Kirby Smith he has his guys going into a household, talking to parents, talking to grandparents, whoever the guardian is that's the most influential in the kid's life. And he's telling you that, you know what, you need to come to Georgia. Yeah, we're not going to a championship game this year, but you know what? Florida State went undefeated, and guess what? They still didn't get even an opportunity. You can tell them that. If you're in the SEC and definitely play for us, you're going to get that opportunity even with a loss. That's what you use as a tool to tell these players and their family for a play to flip. Florida State, I still think the residual damage is there from not going or getting an opportunity at a national championship as an undefeated Power 5 team.
Yeah, so we're talking recruiting. Before the show, I saw a report that there are recruiting violation allegations against Jim Harbaugh.
Bruh, shocking news.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's a witch hunt or if he's actually doing it, but Jim Harbaugh may want to go to the NFL, man.
I'm serious, but they're after him, man. Come on. Now, if he's actually doing it and they just found out, but I'm wondering now in today's age, what's really considered a violation now, because money's not under the table. That would normally be the case. Or could it be something so frivolous as, well, he visited a player or called the play when he shouldn't have done it, or he had a visit when he shouldn't have done it?
That's probably what it was. I didn't click on the report. I'm sure there'll be more.
It comes across as so minor.
More information coming out. I'm sure more to come. But it probably is along those lines. Maybe contacting during the dead period, or who knows.
And that seems petty, but I guess that's now their new real infraction, because money used to be the biggest issue, or things like that. You gave this guy too much, or he got more benefits at his official visit than he should have gotten. Like, for people who probably don't know about the process, you get your I don't know if it's changed since I've dealt with recruiting. You get your 5 official visits. That means the school can pay for you to go and all that other stuff, the plane ticket. They give you can stay in their dorms, or I guess a hotel if they choose to do that. You could bring someone with you. Typically, kids bring their parents, a parent, and then maybe you pay for the other one. Or you have your unofficial visits, in which you can do, like you talked about with Raiola. Coach called him up. He called Coach. He reached out to Coach, and he probably went out there to visit. That's his own accord. That's on his own money. You can visit a school 1,000 times, and it's not an infraction as long as you tell the coach. He can't be the one to initiate the contact. And so, these unofficial visits, you can do that.
Who knows? He may have mentioned the kid's name before he was actually signed today. That's a violation.
You know what? Yeah, you're not supposed to let people know this.
Like I remember I think they asked John Thompson about Reggie Williams, and he went like this. Hey,
Can't say
sorry, coach,
nothing
I know you can't talk about it. He's just shaking his head, not gonna say a word. You're not supposed to talk about them until they're signed.
until they're signed. Exactly. I don't know if they have tampering rules like the NFL does, but I'm sure it's something similar. It's just that the rules, from what I understood them, may be a little different now, only because with NIL, and you have these valuations now that come with the NIL, and I think what Jeremiah Smith that ended up going to Ohio State out of Florida, I think his is at 380 something thousand already. That's the valuation they have. So now has recruiting changed based on the valuation as well? Or yes, it has to. And now you have these boosters like Florida had when they were trying to get Rashada when he was coming out of Miami. They supposed to have had this money. They didn't get it in time, so he's at Arizona State. And I'm sure that's with a lot of players. These people need to have money in the coffers to at least entice these players or let them know they're out there. Now, are players going to start going to these teams just because of the money, or is there going to be any loyalty at all when you're not even asking the coaches to have the loyalty?
Right. But I want to say, I hope it's nothing stupid like a kid from Arizona went to Michigan and didn't have a jacket or a coat, and it was 35 degrees
Yeah,
when he got off
you've
the
heard
plane,
that nonsense before.
and they bought him a coat, because that's just ridiculous, man. They got to change that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You get supposed to let the kid freeze all weekend?
Yeah, you know what? I have not heard the rules or gone through the rules, or at least some of the rules at all over
Or
the
at least
years.
let them borrow one. Here's a Michigan coat. Just give it back before you leave.
Yeah, and you know what? Barry Switzer, his bootlegger's son, book from years ago. I read that years ago. He was talking about something he's done for a player and how the NCAA came down on him. He said, you know what? I'll do it again, because I think the player and his girlfriend or wife, I think he had gotten married, had a miscarriage, I believe, and he took care of some business with him. And I don't think the NCAA was looking at him cockeyed about it. He was like, do what you got to do with that. You know what I mean? I'll take it. I'll take the hit. For something like that, he'll take the hit. So the NCAA needs to have a life and needs to have a little bit of a heart. And that's why I believe they're getting their comeuppance now, because there's a lot of issues going on, and to which I believe if there is a super conference, it won't involve the NCAA, and they will get exactly what they deserve. One thing I wanted to talk about, however, was when it comes now in the climate we're in, when it comes down to recruiting, and it comes down now to NIL, which is a big benefit, and it's also a big thing for all the players who are coming into it. Which teams or which states now have the real benefits? Because now you can go to Texas, you can go to Florida, but if you went to California, you're getting more of your money taxed hugely. Florida and Texas don't have state income tax. So there's a benefit there for you to either go to Texas or Florida. Tennessee is another one of those states that doesn't have state income tax. So those states have more of a benefit. If you want to take care of this now as a real business, because now that's what it really, really is. It always has been business, but now you're signing on the dotted line to get your money. Do you make that decision to go to Syracuse where the New York taxes can crush you? Or do you go to California when those taxes can crush you? Do you go to Texas? No state income tax. Do you go to Florida? No state income tax. Do you go to Tennessee? No state income tax.
That's a good question. We have to see how it plays out over the next few years. I forgot what I was going to say. Malachi Coleman, freshman wide receiver for Nebraska.
Okay.
He's donating all of his NIL money.
Really?
Yeah.
This guy must got it like that, huh? Hey, if he does, he does. No matter how he gets rid.
I don't know his family life, but more power to him. If it makes his heart feel good and he's satisfied up here, hey, I mean, he's in school, so maybe he doesn't need money.
If he's donating,
maybe he didn't donate 100%. Maybe he donated 90%. I don't know.
He donated to his own
funny. I just know he made a significant contribution to I don't know, some community vendor endeavor.
You know what? Hey, maybe some of these other guys would get an idea to do some of that, because you see like Caleb Williams, you see him on the Heisman House commercials. He's getting paid for that because he can. That's part of the NIL money. So he can go out and do those things. It's about marketing it anyway. If a third string player just knew how well he could market himself in an area like Alabama, where almost all the players on the roster are, celebrities anyway, If he knows how to market himself better than someone else who's a player that plays more but doesn't know how to market himself, hey, more power to him if he's going to get paid for it.
Right. I agree with that.
And I think Alabama now, they went and got the number one dual threat quarterback. I guess after seeing what Jalen Monroe was able to develop to, and now coming back for his junior year, they decided, you know what? Or I don't think they decided, they were still on this guy for a while. And this is Julian Sayin. He's committed to Alabama, dual threat quarterback, the number one dual threat quarterback in the country. Man, Saban's still in it. People talking about him not resigning, but retiring. This guy doesn't look like he has it in him to retire in the next 5 years. These plays are still coming to him.
Well, if you look at Jaden Daniels, he has escapability, right? He can scramble.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams can move around and make plays happen. Yeah. Michael Penix,
Penix is cerebral, man.
You don't want a statue back there.
Nope.
So if you can get a guy who's athletic, who can run, but also can pass, I mean, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and looking at what Alabama has done over the years, you now see Jalen Hurts in the NFL and what he had done at Alabama, winning a national championship. And then you see Bryce Young, not as big a run as I thought he would be. And he just turned out to be a real cerebral quarterback. I just think he has a bad team around him in the NFL in Carolina. He was one of those guys. But then now you have Jalen Monroe, started off terribly, was even taken out of the South Florida game. But now they're in the national championship game. And he was number 6 in the Heisman voting, I believe, 6 or 7. So this guy has come a long way. Now you go with another J. Julian, he's coming in, and now he's going to get a chance to sit down. Some of these players are signing on. I think you said Dylan Raiola is coming in the fall, in the spring. Winter, in January.
Winter. Yeah, he'll be enrolling next semester. Same thing with their other quarterback signing, Daniel Kalen. They're both early enrollees.
See, now you're going to get a chance to get some real buzz going on in Lincoln. I mean, not that these people need anything. Lincoln fans show up anyway.
They always have 80,000.
Exactly. Spring game. It's not like, we're having a bad time. Now you're starting to see this. You can actually see the backs of the seats because people are missing. No, they still show up. This is their franchise. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a little volleyball in the mix, but this is their franchise.
Yeah, and that's huge for incoming freshmen.
Absolutely.
You get all those practices and you get a spring game scrimmage. That's huge when you come to the fall. You already have some experience under your belt.
And because of the way things are going right now, especially with Dylan, people who aren't Nebraska fans, they just want to see how this number one quarterback may work out. He's going to get his reps in the spring. Even if he doesn't start, that he's still going to get his reps, and you're going to get an idea of seeing how good a player he's going to be, or if it's going to take longer than you expect. I know people have these unrealistic expectations for these types of players when they come in. You're expecting him to just go out there and throw a 300-yard game or whatever, even if it's against a bad team. But yeah, just watching him develop from the spring and then going into fall drills, and then if he has an opportunity when the first game of the season starts, just seeing that process is good enough and more than enough for Nebraska fans to get happy about. If he can move that ball forward a little bit with some consistency, they'll be happy after what they saw last season.
Right. If they can catch shotgun snaps, that's a good start.
Yeah, without getting hit in the face mask. But man, a lot going on because they're still going to have some signings. I guess people are going to make decisions tomorrow.
What about Colorado? Do they still only have like 7-8 signings?
No, I'm sure. I didn't check them out, and it's a shame because there was so much to talk about.
I saw they ranked like 85, 95 maybe.
Because they're constantly losing and getting, and then Dion makes it a point that I'm going to the transfer portal. Does it scare away some of these freshmen? Because if you're bringing in a junior or a senior or a rising senior, this true freshman knows that it's going to be a tougher uphill climb to get his playing time unless he's a Travis Hunter kind of player, which there aren't many of those talent-wise. You know what I mean? The number one player overall in high school football just ended up on your team, or he just followed you from Jackson State. There aren't many of those players. So yeah, him. And another thing, he has coaches who have left. And those coaches, as much as Deion Sanders is the face of Colorado, everything seems like it's about him. A lot of these coaches, the face of the program, these recruiters are the ones who go through the house. They go through the houses of these players. Sometimes, they bring the head coach at the end to do the close, like they did with Bobby Bowden at Florida State. All of these guys went out there, they did the recruiting, and if you were on the edge, they brought Bobby Bowden in, and that was it. He sealed the deal. He was coming to Florida State. So but with him, he's losing these coaches, And when they leave, the players are leaving, and we're seeing this.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
I'm really surprised they don't have more commits. But
yeah,
you say
but
they're going after the transfer portal. I've seen players committing to different schools, and I haven't seen too many committing to Colorado.
I've been hearing a lot of stories about Colorado just losing players, period. People just losing commitment, losing the commitments, offensive linemen and all that kind of thing. But you know what? We still do have the first Wednesday of February, in which used to be the original signing day, but this is the real signing day. This is the early signing day. So there's still a chance for, if he's going to bring in more people, that will be the time to do it.
Right. I don't know. You just think because not going to a bowl game, I think actually really helped.
It's a benefit. It is.
They didn't have to worry about practice, watching film, preparing for the bowl game, preparing for the other team. They just concentrating on recruiting. Colorado didn't go to a bowl game.
Nope. And look, Alabama, doing as well as they're doing. They just went back to practice, I believe, last Saturday. Kool-Aid McKinstry, remember, he was injured in the SEC championship game. He came back to practice last Saturday as they're preparing to play Michigan for the first piece of the 14 tournament for the CFP. So yeah, man, these teams like that, it's so much going on. You're trying to not run your staff all over the place and still have that continuity to prepare for a game of this magnitude, but then you're still trying to keep these players coming in and try to keep, in this, especially this age with these spoiled ass players, you got to stay in their ear all the time just to let them know you love them. Because as soon as they get that sign that you don't, I'm transferred, I don't like it, I'm decommitted. And it seems like just as how it was. Now, LeGarrette Blount's son, Armando Blount, he committed to Miami, now at Florida State. Now Miami, I believe, is waiting for him to come back to Miami. We'll have to wait and see that, because they ended up sending the entire coaching staff to visit him about a week or two ago. And so that's an impression on a player when you have the entire coaching staff, not just his position coach, but Mario Cristobal and the whole crew showing up, just letting them know, and then they're taking a picture with showing to you. All for show, but still, man, I can dig it. But we'll see.
Right. Good luck to the U.
Good luck for anybody who gets that guy. He's going to be a real beast.
You got McGahee's son.
Yeah, at linebacker of all places. You know what I mean? Miami's gotten players, man. We gotten players from Columbus High School down here, which is Mario Cristobal's alma mater. I remember players who played there, like Daniel Ferguson years ago. In fact, his cousin, Short Dog, when I was in college, he was there. So I knew little Short Dog, Roscoe Ferguson, at the same time. So yeah, man, he got people from his college. Chaminade Madonna, which is an excellent school, 14-0 this season, another state championship. They went into the state championship against another 13-0 team. They were 13-0, the other team 13-0. They win 56-0, and now they're 14-0. That lets you know the talent on that team. And looking at those two receivers, now one at Miami and now one up in Ohio State, and you see why, blowing teams out like that. That's just a perennial power team. They beat Bergen Catholic in Jersey, which is a national power. Drop 61 on them. Bro, what do you want from them?
Yeah, no kidding. But before we sign off today, I want to mention one guy, Darnell Mooney, scrub ass wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Talking about the offense got conservative, they were comfortable, and that's why the Browns were able to come back. He didn't like the play calling. How do you get comfortable when you couldn't move the ball? You only scored because you got the ball inside the 5-yard line. Otherwise, you don't score a touchdown. The defense scored the other touchdown. Plus, he had the ball in his hands to win the game with no time on the clock, and he kicked it to the Browns player for the interception. Dude, who gives you any? Why do you think you can say anything about anybody's offense? You lost the game. You had the ball in your hands. You could have won the game.
The crosshairs.
I mean, what are you doing on the ground anyway? I said that the other day. He's falling down. Why are you falling down? Nobody pushed you. You didn't get tackled. What are you doing on the ground anyway?
In the NBA, wrong sport, man. He's flopping.
I can't wait till he's gone, man. There's like a good 5 players. I can't wait till they're gone. Eddie Jackson, out of here.
Is Justin Fields one of those?
Probably. Because if you think about it, you have the number one pick. They don't have the number one pick yet, but what are the chances Carolina wins another game? Yeah,
Nah,
let's say they have number two. One year you have number one, next year you have number two, and you don't draft a quarterback in either draft.
they'll get a quarterback. I'm just,
Right. I
whew.
just hope they draft the right quarterback.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I'm thinking right now, Jalen Daniels is obviously the guy they should get if there's an opportunity to get them.
That's my guy. I say take Daniels at 2 and Neighbors at 5.
And bro, neighbors.
Unless Marvin's there, but I'm
And
not
I
sure.
was saying, the neighbors was complaining about Marvin
Yeah.
Harrison winning the Blitnikoff.
I'm not sure he's coming out. I'm not sure he'll be there, but Neighbors should be.
Yeah, neighbors. I mean, LSU's been putting out those wide receivers like crazy lately. But when he was complaining about how it was kind of political with Marvin Harrison Jr. winning, you can kind of say that. But when you look at the frequency in which they were making their touchdowns, it made the case for Marvin Harrison. And he still looked like he had a subpar season compared to what he was supposed to have.
Right.
Come on now, with a first-year quarterback.
I didn't think he had a big season.
Exactly for his standards.
He was our pick before the season started.
Yeah. And we were just hoping and wishing for him every game. Bro, I mean, Neighbors is a hell of a receiver. They're both good. And I think they'll both have excellent NFL careers. But
I mean, they already have a connection.
Yeah.
Daniels and Neighbors. Hook him up with DJ Moore. Cole Komet's a decent tight end.
Bro, yo, you know what?
Now we're doing things.
But the GM says, that sounds like it makes too much sense. We can't do that. What are you talking about here?
Yeah,
what do you want?
Hire Eric Bieniemy as your new coach.
You know what? Do that.
Now you have an offensive-minded head coach, somebody who can help groom and develop the quarterback.
Yep, because he's done it right now with Sam Howell, and we're watching it.
I don't know. I just do a podcast for fun.
Yeah, right?
I have nobody.
So let's shut it down. Yeah, we should be GMs. I'm telling you, looking at some of the decisions these GMs and coaches make, come on now. And it looks like a person who just sitting back can do something like that as well. What's preventing you from doing it? Well, the connections and all these other things, not the knowledge. Anyway, he's biased. I'm Trav. The Sports Bag Bros podcast on a Wednesday is signing off. Deuces.
See you tomorrow.